Have you ever felt like the last 3 days of the month carry an invisible weight, a tension that settles in the air uninvited, as if the calendar itself is warning you of something no one dared to explain? It's not a coincidence. It's not financial anxiety. It's not the usual end-of-month stress consuming you. It's a sign, and what is happening now in the deepest spiritual planes reveals precisely why the dates 28, 29, and 30 are affecting you in a way you may have never understood, and why this intensity has been growing with each passing cycle. There's a game being played in layers that most of humanity can't see. A game involving time, cycles, energetic portals, and the exact role you were assigned to fulfill within this spiritual transition that has already begun. And there's a precise reason, almost surgical, why these last 3 days have been chosen by the forces acting against the awakened. It's not random. Nothing in this plane is random. Every date has been calculated. Every cycle has been architected, and every chosen one is now being tested without even realizing it. Think about it. What if everything you've always felt during these periods, the sudden fatigue that appears out of nowhere, the inexplicable insomnia that steals your nights, the arguments at home that ignite for ridiculous reasons, the money that disappears for no apparent reason, the strange and heavy dreams, the bodily pains that medicine can't explain, wasn't coincidence but rather concrete proof that you are being targeted precisely on these 3 days because you are not an observer of this story, but a central piece of it. What I'm about to reveal, Chosen One, can completely change how you navigate the upcoming cycles of your life, because the dates 28, 29, and 30 form a spiritual corridor, a temporal triangle, where the forces of darkness have received temporary authorization to act with greater precision on those who carry light. This is known to ancient mystics. It's whispered in rituals that most people can't even imagine exist. And this is precisely why you are feeling what you feel. You are not crazy. You are awake, and that has made you a target right at the end of each monthly cycle. That's why I've prepared the powerful ebook for you, the God's Chosen Family Protection Handbook. This ebook is not just reading, it's a map that shows exactly who is playing against you during these 3 critical days, what the rules of this spiritual corridor they never told you about are, and what revealing entities from other dimensions have already shown about why these specific dates were chosen as an attack window against the families of the awakened. This ebook was created for those who have already awakened enough to know that the 28th, 29th, and 30th are not just numbers on a calendar, but real spiritual triggers that demand preparation, discernment, and protection. The link is in the first pinned comment at the top, but I need to warn you, this type of content rarely stays available for long. What's in these pages challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping intact, and there have already been attempts to silence this knowledge before. Don't wait for the right moment, Chosen One. The right moment is now, because you didn't arrive at this video by accident. Download now and comment below. I'm the Chosen One and I'm downloading the ebook. Now that you've decided to act, Chosen One, the next truth I will tell you will be the final blow against this silent oppression that has befallen you these past 3 days. Pay close attention to what I am about to say, because this is not written in common handbooks and will not be repeated on other channels. What happens on the 28th is completely different from what manifests on the 29th. And what descends on the 30th is the climax of a spiritual engineering that most people go through blindly, without understanding why their lives seem to turn upside down precisely at this end of the monthly cycle. The 28th is the day of the silent trap. It is the moment when opposing forces begin to study you. They observe your emotions, your thoughts, your doubts. They listen to your conversations, measure your faith, calculate where you are most vulnerable. Have you noticed that precisely on this day it is common for that silly argument with someone in your family to appear, for no reason? That disagreement that starts with a misinterpreted comment, a sharp retort, a poorly received look. It is not your lack of patience, it is not hormones, it is the enemy opening the corridor. This apparently insignificant fight is the key that unlocks the spiritual door of your home for the next 2 days. If you do not perceive the maneuver, you hand over the portal on a silver platter. And that is why many chosen ones, without understanding what was happening, began the 29th already unprotected, because the 29th is the day of direct attack. It is when the entities that were just observing start to act. On this day, it is common to feel that strange weight on your chest upon waking, that feeling that something will go wrong today, that deep discouragement that has no logical explanation. You may have slept well and still wake up as if you had been beaten up during the night. This is not a coincidence. This is real spiritual activity, happening while your body slept. Many chosen ones report dreaming of dead people, of old houses, of falls, of escapes, of chains, precisely in the early hours of the 28th to the 29th. These dreams are messages. They are warnings that the soul tries to give you before the rational mind erases everything with coffee and distraction. And then we arrive at the 30th, the day of execution. It is the day when what was architected on the 28th and reinforced on the 29th attempts to materialize concretely. It is on this day that many people receive bad news. It is on this day that a bill that seemed under control becomes a crisis. It is on this day that a misunderstanding becomes a serious fight. It is on this day that a headache becomes a crisis, that an argument with your spouse becomes a threat of separation, that a problem at work becomes a dismissal. Do you know this pattern? Have you lived through this? Have you lost count of how many times bad events have occurred precisely in these 3 days? It was precisely for this reason that I prepared the powerful ebook for you, the God's Chosen Family Protection Handbook. This ebook is not just reading, it is a spiritual map that deciphers day by day what is being orchestrated against you in this corridor of the 28th, 29th, and 30th. It shows the rules you were never told about how the forces of darkness use these 3 specific days to attack entire families, how to recognize the first signs of the trap on the 28th before it closes, how to dismantle the attack on the 29th, and how to prevent the execution on the 30th from happening in your home. The link is in the first pinned post at the top of the comments. But I repeat the warning. This type of content challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping intact, and there have already been attempts to remove what is on these pages from the air. Don't wait for next month to find out if the dates will weigh heavily again. The right moment is now, Chosen One. Download now and comment below. I'm the Chosen One, and I'm downloading the ebook. Now that you've taken this step of faith, I will reveal something even deeper to you. Something that will explain why these 3 dates were specifically chosen within the spiritual calendar, and not the 5th, 12th, or 20th. Pay close attention, because this information alone is worth more than many years of confusing study. There is an ancient principle, recognized by Jewish mystics, experienced exorcist priests, and scholars of forgotten scriptures, that teaches that every cycle has a spiritual closure. And closure doesn't happen on the 1st of the following month. Closure happens in the last 3 days of the previous cycle. These 3 days are called in some traditions closing portals. They are the moment when everything that was left open during the month needs to be closed or carried forward. And it is precisely there that the enemy takes advantage to try to pour into your life everything he planted in the previous weeks, without you realizing it. Think with me. If during the month you were the target of the evil eye, envy, negative words at work, malicious thoughts from people close to you, unresolved emotional triggers, all of this remains floating on the spiritual plane like seeds waiting for soil. And the soil is precisely these final 3 days. It's like a funnel. Everything that was plotted against you during the month passes through this funnel on the 28th, 29th, and 30th, trying to materialize before the new cycle begins. That's why a fight that made no sense suddenly explodes. That's why money that was guaranteed suddenly disappears. That's why health that was stable suddenly enters crisis. It's not bad luck. It's inverted spiritual liturgy being executed on your calendar. And the chosen ones, by carrying a higher frequency, attract this engineering even more strongly. It's as if your light serves as a compass. Where there is light, the enemy aims first. Where there is a soul that recognizes God's existence, the enemy redoubles their effort. Where there is a family that prays, that has faith, that teaches their children the right way, that is the priority of opposing forces. Because destroying a family of chosen ones is not just destroying 5 or 6 people. It is destroying an entire lineage, a generation of spiritual warriors who haven't even arrived yet. That's why when you understand this dynamic, everything starts to make sense. That time you almost lost everything on the 30th and managed to save yourself by a thread, it was a test. That early morning of the 29th when you woke up praying for no reason, it was the Holy Spirit saving you from something you never knew about. That silly argument with your mother on the 28th that you didn't understand, it was an attempt to break the foundation of your home. Nothing was an accident. Everything was calculated. And what you are about to discover will give you the key to turn the game around. There is a pattern in the attacks of these 3 days that you need to engrave in your mind. The attacks begin with emotion. Always. The enemy doesn't strike directly at the body, money, or work on the first day. He strikes at your emotions. He creates irritation. He creates sadness for no reason. He creates thoughts of doubt about yourself, about your faith, about your future. If you fall into this first layer, he advances to the second, relationships. He starts messing with those around you. He puts strange words in the mouths of those who love you. He creates misunderstandings where there should be none. And if you fall into this second layer, he advances to the third, material things. That's where money disappears, where the car breaks down, where an unexpected bill appears, where work becomes a problem. So, chosen one, if you learn to block the first attack, you prevent the other two from reaching you. And this is possible. It is entirely possible. There are specific steps, specific prayers, specific spiritual attitudes that close the portal before it fully opens. And this is exactly what I have described step by step in the powerful ebook for you, the God's Chosen Family Protection Handbook. This ebook is not just reading material. It's a spiritual warfare manual divided by days, with the right prayers for the 28th, for the 29th, and for the 30th, with the seals of protection that the ancients used to shield their homes during this period, with the explanation of who is playing against your family during these dates, and how to identify each type of attack the moment it begins. The link is in the first pinned comment at the top. I need to repeat the warning. This type of content challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping intact, and there have already been attempts to silence this knowledge before. Don't let the next 28th arrive without you being prepared. Download now and comment below. I'm the chosen one and I'm downloading the ebook. This is the act of faith that opens the next door. Now that you've made this commitment, I'm going to enter a more delicate part, because this is where many chosen ones get stuck. This is where the battle between what your rational mind believes and what your soul knows comes in. Pay attention. There are specific signs that appear before the 28th, 29th, and 30th, warning that this cycle will be heavier than the previous ones. These signs generally begin to manifest between the 24th and the 27th, as a spiritual warm-up for what is to come. You may have already noticed some of them without realizing it. I will list the main ones so that you can start monitoring your own life with a different lens from today onwards. The first sign is insomnia that appears out of nowhere. You lie down tired, everything indicates that you will sleep deeply, and when the time between 3 and 5 in the morning hits, your eyes open on their own, and you can't close them anymore. This is not common sleep disturbance, this is spiritual activity. There is a time known as the hour of the dead in some traditions, and this is precisely the time often used by entities to try to interfere with the human mind while it is most unprotected. If you have been waking up at this hour in the days leading up to the 28th, it is a warning. It's not insomnia, it's a spiritual invitation, and you need to learn to respond to it with prayer and not with your phone. The second sign is heavy dreams with people who have already died. If you suddenly start dreaming of a deceased relative, a friend who has passed away, someone you no longer even remembered, especially if these dreams come with a feeling of sadness, of farewell, of warning, this is a clear sign that the portal is opening. It's not that person's soul visiting you. It's often an entity presenting itself as that person to gain your trust and open spiritual space within your energetic field. Be careful with this. Be especially careful if immediately after this dream you feel heaviness in your body, headache, extreme fatigue. These are symptoms of real spiritual invasion. The third sign is broken glass or an object falling on its own in your house between the 27th and the 30th. That glass that falls from the table without anyone touching it. That door that slams shut on its own. That light bulb that burns out for no reason. That mirror that cracks without cause. This is spiritual activity manifested on the material plane, and it is one of the clearest warnings that the house will be the stage for a dispute during these 3 days. If this is happening in your home, you need to act. You need to pray before the portal opens completely. The fourth sign is absurd family fights. Arguments for reasons that make no sense whatsoever. Harsh words exchanged between people who love each other. Children suddenly rebellious. A spouse withdrawn, distant, inexplicably aggressive. This is the enemy trying to break the spiritual foundation of the home before the 28th arrives, because a disunited home is an easy home to invade. If you're having fights like this, run to prayer. Run to intercession. Don't fight back. Cover your home, cover your family. Because the fight is just the symptom, the cause is spiritual. The fifth sign is the sudden loss of faith. That moment when you, the chosen one, who always prayed, always believed, always trusted, suddenly find yourself thinking, is it worth it? Is God really there? Am I just wasting my time? This is not your doubt. This is an attack. It's the enemy's oldest strategy. He knows that if he can extinguish your faith, all other attacks become easier. Stay alert. If this thought comes, recognize that it is not yours. It is sown, and reject it immediately. Reaffirm your faith out loud. Say out loud that you are the chosen one. Say out loud that your home belongs to the Lord. Words spoken out loud have power in the spiritual realm. The enemy hears and retreats. The sixth sign is the feeling of being watched when you are alone. That inexplicable shiver, that shadow seen out of the corner of your eye that disappears when you look directly. That impression that someone is in the room with you, even when no one is there. This is not imagination. This is a real spiritual perception that there is a presence in the environment. Many of the chosen, due to their higher spiritual sensitivity, pick up these presences more clearly, precisely in these days. Do not be afraid. Fear is fuel for the enemy. Pray. Reprove any presence that is not of the Lord. Command in Jesus' name that any entity that does not come from God leave your home immediately. You have the authority to do this. You are the chosen one. And the seventh sign, perhaps the most delicate of all, is the sudden desire to isolate yourself, to not answer the phone, to not reply to messages, to not see anyone, to lock yourself away at home, to cut off contact with those who love you. This is one of the most silent traps of the 28th, 29th, and 30th, because the enemy knows that an isolated chosen one is a weakened chosen one. He knows that alone, you pray less, intercede with less strength, have less support. That's why he plants this desire for isolation as if it were tiredness or spiritual introspection. It is not. It is a trap. In these 3 days, more than ever, maintain contact with those who have faith. Call a trusted person. Go to your mother's house, your father's house, someone who prays. Do not be alone in these days. A spiritual unity is a shield. If you recognized at least 3 of these 7 signs in your life in the past few months, chosen one, this video did not reach you by chance. You are called. You are being warned. And what you do with this warning from now on will define what the next cycle, the next month, the next years of your family will be like. Because every month that passes without preparation is a month in which the enemy gains ground. And every month in which you get through prepared is a month in which you take back what was yours by spiritual right. There is an ancient prayer, passed down among families of deep faith, which is specifically recited on the mornings of the 28th, 29th, and 30th. This prayer seals the 4 corners of the house, closes spiritual doors, and places each family member under the covering of Jesus' blood. It is performed before sunrise, with a lit candle, the Bible open to Psalm 91, and the name of each family member spoken aloud. This prayer alone changes the spiritual atmosphere of the home for 24 hours. When repeated on 3 consecutive days, it creates a barrier that the enemy cannot easily break. This prayer is detailed word for word within the ebook, along with 3 other specific prayers for more severe situations when you realize an attack has already begun within the home and needs to be stopped midway. And I need to tell you something that many of the chosen ones still don't know. There is a specific power in the act of naming the enemy. When you recognize the type of attack you are suffering, whether it's envy, the evil eye, witchcraft, a spiritual attachment, an ancestral trap, or a hereditary curse, When you name what is happening, you strip the enemy of his primary resource, invisibility. While he acts hidden, he is strong. The moment you expose him, he is forced to retreat because he loses the spiritual permission to act camouflaged. That's why it's so important for you to learn to identify each type of manifestation. And that's precisely what the ebook does. It teaches, through clear examples, how to differentiate each type of attack and how to respond to each with the correct spiritual weapon. Many people pray generically and get no answer. Not because God doesn't listen, but because the prayer wasn't aimed. It's like shooting in the dark. You can shoot 1,000 times and hardly hit the target. Now, when you know where the enemy is, when you know what he's trying to do, when you know which door he used to get in, your prayer gains surgical precision. And precise prayer is the prayer that brings results. This is the difference between the chosen one, who suffers on the 28th, 29th, and 30th without understanding why, and the chosen one who navigates these 3 days, strengthened, protected, and with a fortified family. Do you know the greatest lie the enemy has spread among Christians in the last 50 years? That having faith is enough, that believing is enough, that you don't need to do anything more than that. This lie has disarmed an entire generation, because faith without knowledge is passive faith, and passive faith protects no one. The Bible is crystal clear. My people perish for lack of knowledge, not lack of faith, lack of knowledge. The chosen ones who safely navigate the cycle endings are those who combine faith with knowledge. They are the ones who know what is happening, when it is happening, and how to position themselves in the face of what is happening. And that is precisely why the ebook was written, because the time has come for the chosen ones to stop navigating the 28th, 29th, and 30th dates in the dark, thinking it's destiny, thinking it's a bad phase, thinking it's coincidence. None of this is by chance. Everything has a spiritual explanation, and every spiritual explanation has a practical answer. You no longer need to live in this cycle of pain. You no longer need to see your family shaken at the end of every month. You no longer need to lose money, lose peace, lose health precisely on the 3 days when the enemy moves with more authorization. You can turn this page. Now listen closely, chosen one. There's a brutal difference between knowing there's a spiritual battle and being equipped to win it. Many know. Few are equipped. And the ebook was made to transform you from someone who knows into someone who is armed, prepared, armored. It doesn't fill you with mystical theory that's useless. It gives you what you need to know, when you need to know it, with practical, day-to-day application. You read it today and start applying it tomorrow. And the first cycle's end you go through after applying what's written there, you'll notice the difference yourself. The peace you haven't had for the last 3 days of the month will start to manifest. The fights that appeared out of nowhere will stop. The money that disappeared will start to stabilize. Heavy dreams will give way to dreams of revelation. And the feeling of weight will give way to the feeling of victory. And this is not an empty promise, chosen one. This is what happens when someone enters the dimension of applied spiritual knowledge. It's spiritual law working in your favor for the first time in your life. It's you taking back what was yours by divine inheritance. Because yes, God called you chosen not for you to live defeated. God called you to win, to protect, to lead your family through this time, and every month that passes without you entering this dimension is a month where the enemy continues to advance on ground that should be yours. Don't let another cycle pass. Don't let the next 28th arrive without you being prepared. That's why I prepared the powerful ebook for you, the God's Chosen Family Protection Handbook. This ebook isn't just reading. It's the complete map of the 3 most critical days of each month, with all the prayers, all the seals, all the practical steps you need to shield your home, your family, and your own soul against the spiritual corridor of the 28th, 29th, and 30th. It teaches you exactly who is playing against you on these days, what the rules are that they never told you, and what to do on each of the 3 nights so that the enemy doesn't advance even one more step into your home. The link is in the first pinned comment at the top. But I repeat the final warning. This type of content challenges narratives that many are interested in keeping intact, and there have already been attempts to silence this knowledge before. Don't wait for next month. Don't wait for the next attack. The right time is now, chosen one, because you didn't arrive at this video by accident. God brought you here. Download now and comment below. I'm the chosen one, and I'm downloading the ebook. This is the act of faith that seals your commitment to your own victory. And when you do that, chosen one, you will realize something impressive. From the moment you make that decision, the enemy already loses strength, because the spiritual decision precedes the execution. As soon as you decide to prepare yourself, as soon as you decide to arm yourself, as soon as you decide not to go through any more unprotected end of cycles, the plan against you begins to crumble. It's as if heaven registers your commitment and immediately activates forces in your favor. You will feel this within the next few hours. A different kind of peace will come over you. Mental clarity that was clouded will begin to open up, and you will finally understand what it truly means to be chosen. It's not a burden, it's an honor. It's not a load, it's a mission, and every mission comes with the provision to fulfill it. The ebook is part of this provision that God is giving you today. Through this video, at this exact moment, you are listening to these words. Don't let it pass. Go now. Download, read, apply, and see with your own eyes the next 28th arrive without taking you down. You are chosen. You were called. You were empowered. And now, with what you have learned here and what you will learn in the ebook, you are ready to walk through each spiritual corridor of this calendar as the victor God created you to be. Peace, protection, and victory over your life and over your entire household. Chosen one. See you on the other side of the next 30th, stronger, more lucid, and more protected than ever.